Edmond Dantes stood proudly at the front of the ship Pharaon as it entered the port of Marseille. The wind pushed the sails, the sea sparkled in the sunlight, and sailors hurried across the deck. For Edmond, this was not just another journey, it was the beginning of a new life. He was only 19 years old, but already the first mate of one of the finest ships of his company. His heart was full of hope and dreams, for he carried good news for both his employer and his family. The Pharaoh had sailed from Smyrna, then stopped in Naples, and was finally returning to Marseille. On the voyage, the ship's captain had fallen gravely ill. Edmond, young and ambitious, had taken command. He navigated storms, negotiated with traders, and brought the ship safely home with its cargo untouched. His skill and bravery impressed everyone on board. Even the old soldiers, who at first had doubted him, now spoke of him with respect. As the ship neared the dock, a small crowd of merchants, port workers, and families gathered to welcome it.
Edmund felt his heart beat faster, for among the crowd stood the two people he loved most, his father, an old man who had given everything for his son, and Mercedes, the beautiful young woman who was promised to him. The ship anchored, and Edmund gave sharp, confident orders. "Lower the sails, prepare the ropes, secure the cargo." His voice carried across the deck, and the sailors obeyed with speed. When the gangplank was lowered, Edmund ran down, eager to embrace his father and Mercedes. His father held him tightly, tears in his eyes. Mercedes smiled, her dark hair shining in the sunlight, her eyes full of love.
"Edmund," she whispered, "you are safe. I prayed for you every day."
"I'm safe and more than that," Edmund replied.
"I bring good news. The captain has died.
But the owner, Monsieur Morel, has promised to make me captain of the Pharaon. At 19, I shall have my own command." His father's hands trembled as he held him. "Captain, my son, you make me proud."
Your mother would have been proud too.
Mercedes lowered her eyes modestly, though joy filled her. Beauty. To be the wife of a captain meant security and honor. She dreamed of a small house near the sea, children playing by the shore, and a future bright with happiness.
Monsieur Morel soon appeared, a wealthy merchant with a kind smile. He greeted Edmund warmly and confirmed the promise. "You have shown courage and wisdom beyond your years. The Pharaon is yours to command, Edmund. Serve me faithfully, and you shall rise even higher." The crowd cheered, and Edmund felt as if the whole world celebrated with him. Yet, while most smiled, not every face was full of joy. Hidden among the crowd was Fernand Mondego, a fisherman from Catalonia. He stood silently, his fists clenched, his eyes burning with jealousy. For Fernand loved Mercedes too, and he had long dreamed of marrying her. But she had chosen Edmund, and Fernand's heart was filled with anger and envy.
Another man, Danglars, the ship's purser, also looked at Edmund with bitterness. During the voyage, Edmund had been promoted above him, and Danglars could not forgive this humiliation. To see a 19-year-old boy given the command of the Pharaoh was for him an insult.
His lips curled into a thin smile as he muttered in Dantes, "Capt, we shall see how long that lasts."
Unaware of the hatred growing around him, Edmund walked proudly through. And in making the streets of Marseille, with his father and Mercedes at his side.
His father's small home, where Edmund discovered a painful truth. His father had lived in poverty while he was away.
And out of duty, the old man had repaid a debt of money that Edmund owed to a neighbor leaving himself almost nothing to eat. Edmund was heartbroken, but he quickly gave his father all the wages he had earned. From now on, you will want for nothing. The evening brought more joy. Edmund and Mercedes walked along the shore, unwell speaking of their future. The sea breeze touched their faces, and the horizon seemed to promise endless possibilities. They planned to marry as soon as possible. Mercedes leaned on Edmund's arm and whispered, "I wish this happiness could last forever." "It will," Edmund answered confidently. "Nothing could from us." But fate had other plans. While Edmund celebrated, Danglars and Fernand met secretly in a dark tavern. They spoke in low voices, their words heavy with malice. "Edmund has everything," Fernand hissed. "Mercedes, success, the captaincy, while I, who has loved her since childhood, am left with nothing." "And I," said Danglars, "should be purser, second only to the captain. Instead, this boy takes the command, and I am forced to serve under him. His good fortune is insufferable." Two men drank coffee, their eyes filled with hatred. It was then that Danglars suggested a plan. What if Edmund were accused of being a traitor? What if someone wrote a letter to the authorities claiming he carries messages from Napoleon's supporters? Fernand's and the eyes lit with cruel hope. If he is arrested, he will lose Mercedes. She will be mine. Exactly, Danglars agreed, and I shall have my revenge. He will never be captain if he is in prison. That night, with careful handwriting, Danglars composed a letter from Napoleon Bonaparte to his followers in Paris. The accusation was false, but it was dangerous. Long told the government feared Napoleon, who had been exiled, but still, they of Gand had many loyal supporters. To be suspected of helping him was enough to destroy a man's life. When the letter was finished, Fernand delivered it to the local prosecutor. With that single act, Edmund's future was poisoned.
The next day, Edmund's friends gathered for his betrothal feast.
Laughter filled the air, music played, and tables were heavy with food and drinks.
Mercedes wore a simple white dress, her face glowing with happiness. Cheers answered him, and for a moment, all seemed perfect.
But outside, in the shadows, soldiers approached.
At the height of the celebration, the door opened and an officer entered with cold authority.
Edmund Dantes, he asked.
Yes, Edmund replied, surprised.
You are under arrest by the king's prosecutor.
The room fell silent. Mercedes gasped, Edmund's father trembled, and Edmund himself stood frozen with shock.
He had done nothing wrong, yet strong hands seized him and led him away.
The feast ended in confusion and sorrow.
Mercedes cried out, "There must be a mistake."
Edmund is innocent, but her words were useless.
The trap had closed, and Edmund's bright future was already slipping into darkness.